Welcome back to 16 by 9, the bigger picture.
They can read the story of a crime in a fingerprint. They can catch a crook from a drop of blood. And our cameras were with Vancouver's RCMP forensic unit behind the scenes as they work to solve real crimes. Here again is our Carolyn Jarvis.
If you're looking for banker's hours, this job isn't for you. Sergeant Lisa Devonchuk's shift has just ended when she gets another call. A man shot 3 times inside his house.
Several men came crashing through a window in his house, a glass door in his house. When the suspects entered, he confronted them and he was shot 3 times. 2 of the bullets went through and through. 1 bullet was lodged in his leg. All 3 bullets were to his lower legs.
The suspects bind him with duct tape, raid his safe, take cash and guns, and leave with a threat. Phone the police and we'll come back and kill you. It's Lisa's job to find clues to who fired the gun and made that threat.
I'm going to document this scene as it was found by the police, as well as try to see what evidence we can get to find out who those people were that came through. So we're going to be looking at the point of entry. This duct tape is obviously something that is involved. What appears to be a bullet holes in the couch. I'm hoping we'll be able to find a slug.
Any evidence that might have a print on it is photographed and seized. The first bullet is easy to find, but another is missing. Lisa thinks she knows where it is.
It's somewhere in this couch, and it should be in very good condition because it's literally being softened.
She cuts through the first layer of material. Next, the batting, then the foam.
I wanted to find that slug.
You're ripping the couch apart.
I was ripping the couch apart.
Where could that go?
More than an hour later, still no sign of the bullet.
That is some moldy kind of food. I was getting very frustrated because logically, it should have been right where we were cutting. However, it wasn't there.
Finally, at 3 a.m.
In here, push on it.
Okay, yeah, don't move.
Okay.
5 hours later, the missing piece of evidence is found.
Finding those 2 bullets in the scene, we know what else is around here, and we're going to definitely be able to get more evidence tomorrow when we come back.
Lisa's long day is finally over. But it's just beginning for Corporal Shauna McPherson. She's one of only 3 people in the country that can make this face recognizable.
It's a very robust individual, and I think that's going to be very interesting from a 3-dimensional reconstruction perspective.
Yeah. The skull and jaw washed up on the coast of BC some 30 years ago. According to the coroner, they belong to a man, but little else is known. So Shauna gets to work rebuilding the face, hoping someone will recognize it.
He, we believe, is First Nations Caucasian mixed individual between the ages of 45 and 60. The only remains that were found that I'm aware of were just the skull and mandible.
Amazingly, that's enough. Shauna starts by laying down tissue depth markers.
And that really means how fleshy he is.
Exactly, yeah. In various portions, in various areas of the skull and the face. So I'll place the markers and then start to just build up from there.
It's painstaking work, every move precise, every measurement exact.
I want it to look as natural as possible.
At first, the face looks almost robotic, but with each step, it quite literally begins to take shape.
A rule of thumb, the length of the ears is about the same length as the nose. Kind of round.
Now, Shauna becomes a touch here, an adjustment there.
And it doesn't look like much yet, but the suggestion is there.
Every step takes hours, the entire process, several days. But gradually, this skull is transforming.
I really feel obligated to do justice to the reconstruction, to provide dignity to this individual, and to do my best to see that if I can repatriate him to his family. That's the ultimate goal.
While Shauna rebuilds her case, bloodstain analyst Staff Sergeant Jim Hignell is about to reconstruct his, the basement hammer attack.
This is our blood room.
His lab is like a giant shower where he can literally watch the blood fly and see where it ends up.
So what we do is we throw blood around in here in experiments.
Really?
And we need to wash it. So that's why it's a waterproof room.
Jim recreates the hallway where he believes the 24-year-old man was attacked and reproduces the crime with a hammer and animal blood.
And what we're looking for is the resulting drops of blood and where they go, where that pattern takes us.
It only takes one strike to tell what he calls the blood story.
What we're seeing here makes sense to me as this being pretty much the area where the victim would have been struck.
The shape and distribution of these tiny drops reveal an astonishing amount of information.
For instance, straight out from where this blood source was, you'll see that they're very round. When blood strikes a surface at 90 degrees, whether it's under force or whether it's just gravity going down, the resulting drop of blood will be circular.
And that's what you see here.
That's circular. We've just proven that.
The theory was that somebody was struck near ground level. Does what has happened here support that?
Absolutely.
It could be the key piece of information needed. And when we come back, Jim is handed what could be the weapon.
Coming up on 16 by 9.
So now we're able to see detail in this area here that we couldn't see before.
Oh, so you didn't even see that print a second ago?
Yeah.
That's all coming up. Welcome back to 16 by 9, the bigger picture.
Long hours, painstaking work, and personal sacrifice. But when it all comes together, there's nothing but pride for the men and women who work behind the yellow line. Here's our Carolyn Jarvis.
It is day 2 at Sergeant Lisa Devonchuk's shooting scene, and a possible motive becomes apparent.
Oh, and there's another one back here too, so there's 4 rooms.
In a shed behind the house, police say there's a marijuana grow-up.
He now has admitted that he was actively using his grow, and that when the suspects came, they in fact stole all his product.
So they came, they beat him with a bat, they shot him 3 times, and stole all the dope.
Yes.
Lisa's search for evidence leads her to the basement.
I was focusing on the bloody footprints.
But they're incomplete. To see the whole picture, you need a keen eye and a unique chemical.
So what amido black does, it's a dye stain that will react with the proteins that are in the blood that we see here on the floor. Our eyes can only see so much of these impressions.
Look at that.
After spraying several sections of the floor, 4 distinct shoe prints appear seemingly out of nowhere.
So now we're able to see detail in this area here that we couldn't see before. Oh, there's a nice one that we didn't know about.
Oh, so you didn't even see that print a second ago?
Yeah.
Proof that at least 4 different people were down here while the blood was still fresh.
It corroborates the victim's story again, but it also gives us that evidence that if we can locate suspects, if we seize their shoes, my goal would be to try to match those shoes to the footprints that were left in the basement.
But there is one more piece of evidence that could help prove who was inside this home. The duct tape used to tie the victim up.
It's huge. I'm thinking there could be DNA from both the victim as well as the suspect, as well as fingerprints of the suspect when he put that tape onto the victim.
At the lab, Lisa painstakingly pulls apart every inch of the tape and puts it into a chamber using, believe it or not, crazy glue. The glue is heated and vaporizes into a mist. It sticks to any moisture in the chamber, including fingerprints. An hour and a half later, the duct tape is removed, stained,
okay, goggles on,
and put under a specialized laser to see if anything's visible. The first couple of pieces are inspected.
We're striking out. Nothing on this one.
And it's not looking good.
This roll of tape is a bust.
This roll of tape is a bust, unfortunately.
You were there for a while.
Yes, we were.
It wasn't looking good.
No, it wasn't.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking that it was a case where we just didn't happen to have a suspect who touched the tape with his free hand.
But on TV,
Every piece that they examine, they find a fingerprint that's perfect, pristine, very identifiable, no distortion to it. It just looks so easy. And in real life, that's very few and far between.
Few and far between, but then Lisa decides to re-examine the very first piece of tape where she noticed a fraction of a print.
I found enough ridges and enough characteristics that I felt that that fingerprint would be identifiable.
Huge.
Yes, yes. I'm looking at this area right here.
It's a partial print, but it could just be enough. So Lisa sends it to the fingerprint database, hoping there is a match. Back at her lab, Corporal Shauna McPherson is also hoping to find a match for her unidentified man.
Is there attachment to him now? I mean, you've spent a lot of time.
I have a bit of a relationship, yeah. I've you know, when I carry him back to my locker at night, I feel very attached to this individual.
After 4 days of painstaking work, she's putting the finishing touches on, drooping the skin slightly, adding wrinkles, and using sandpaper to recreate the aging process.
I do chat with him when I'm sculpting here alone at night. So
do you really?
Just a little, you know, say, okay, what do you think of that? You know, it's kind of silly, but yeah, you kind of develop a little bit of a bond with the cases that you work on.
After a few attempts with various looks, this is the image that will be released to the public. A man with no name who hopefully someone will recognize.
It's really sad to me to think that somebody can be gone for 30 years and we don't know where he came from. And perhaps he did have a small family, but to be able to return him to even that one individual who's got the question out there, at least it answers that question. And it gives him a dignified end as well, rather than sitting on a shelf in a government office somewhere, you know.
Some cases take 30 years for closure. Others, like Staff Sergeant Jim Hignalls, are far quicker. A hammer recovered from the crime scene reveals more blood and is sent to the lab for DNA analysis. Only a week and a half after Jim was called to the scene, 2 suspects, Dustin Bratton and Lonnie Fisher, are charged with assault with a weapon, aggravated assault, and unlawful confinement. 5 months later, a 3rd suspect is picked up on a province-wide warrant and charged with the same 3 crimes. Now it's up to the courts to decide if the allegations are true, but Jim has done his job.
You take a moment and you realize that's why I do it.
The rewards can be tremendous, but so are the sacrifices. Lives interrupted, events missed, and calls out in the middle of the night.
Sometimes we're pulled away and we don't know how long we're going to be gone for. We could be there for hours or we may be at a scene for days.
That's why phone calls like the one Sergeant Lisa Devonchuk received 2 days after she sent that fingerprint to the lab make it all worthwhile.
What was the call?
The call was telling me that they got a name to that fingerprint.
That name is Kenneth Chudley, charged with 5 crimes, including aggravated assault and unlawful confinement. His fate, too, now up to the courts.
I've helped that man who's been shot. Regardless of what type of lifestyle he had, he was shot. And I've helped brought justice to the people that did that to him, and it's very rewarding.
This is no film noir. It's the daily grind for these officers. But ask any of them, and they'll tell you that when it's a good day, it'll give any Hollywood ending a run for its money.
And that's it for us tonight. If you have a story idea, just call us at 1-877-TEL-16-9 or visit our website at global16by9.com. I'm Mary Garafello. Thank you for watching. And from all of us here, good night.
If you've got a story idea for 16 by 9, call our tip line